Linda Brunner is the founding partner of Imagine You Know, an early-stage fund investing in cybersecurity and digital infrastructure across Europe. A serial entrepreneur and former CCO at Future, she brings deep operational experience scaling startups from early traction to multi-million ARR. She now backs technical founders building the next generation of digital resilience. Linda, welcome to the Future Makers podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. I want to start with Imagine You Know. I want to know, in your own words, what is Imagine You Know? What is your role in the organization?
So Imagine You Know is an early stage venture fund investing into European cybersecurity and digital infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
We not only provide money to our founders, but also help them with our own experience. We are all former operators or founders, and we bring this also to the table.
So you mentioned own experience. Can we learn more about you and how you kind of came into Imagine You Know, and a little bit more background into what has formed your experience?
So I was always focused on company building or building something. Whenever I see a problem or something that is not working, I love fixing it. And this is always what has drawn me or what has shaped my career. And this is also what brought me to the fund or to the venture fund. I saw that cybersecurity investments in Europe are not working. And I wanted to fix that. And that's what we are doing now.
Cybersecurity is kind of a sector that has not, historically been very welcoming to women, especially. What kind of drew you into the field? What was so attractive to you in that sector?
Actually, it was also unplanned. I came from the fintech and banking side. And when I was asked to join Future then later as a chief commercial officer, I was very much aware of how their customer base works because they're mainly selling to highly regulated industries. And this is what drew me into cyber. It could have been also different because actually my dad is also in cybersecurity. He was a chief information security officer for many years.
Roundabout way.
Yes. So it was not planned like that, but I fell in love with the industry, and I love the combination of, you solve something that is or you protect your beloved ones. You protect what matters, and be it, your identity, your belongings, etc. So it's super relevant, and it feels like it has a lot of meaning. And at the same time, there's so many challenges to tackle. It's deeply technical, but also a lot about, how do you convince others that you have the right solutions for them. So I love this combination of it.
I want to ask about just kind of like your early years. You mentioned that you were coming out of fintech. What was kind of like your education into that? Did you plan to, get into the financial sectors? Was it something that it was encouraged by, like your environment, your parents, your family, friends?
So I have a business background. I studied finance and international management, both in Europe but also in Hong Kong, in Asia.
Oh, wow.
And I always loved the non-tangible part. Like I love technology, I love software, I love also banking, because you create value that is not visible. So I was always drawn towards that. And I love shaping or changing industries. So it felt like a natural, I joined actually the first fintech in Switzerland back then and was responsible for online marketing. This was my first job. And it felt very natural. And this is when I fell in love with the startup environment. And
what was your first kind of dip into, venture capital or even investment? What was that experience like, and what drew you there as well?
So venture capital was always a big topic from the startup side. So I have been also serving as a chief financial officer for a few years, and I was also there doing some funding rounds and was closely collaborating with the existing investor base. We had extremely good investors, extremely diverse ones, both from like very big VCs that act globally, but also some big corporate financial investors. And I love this space, but I also noticed that the best conversations you can have with investors is if they are really like coming from the space or they have gone through the same experience as you. And this is what I felt where I could add. I'm always like, I'm very problem focused. So whenever I see something is not working, I jump on it and I try to fix it or make it work.
What was the environment, the startup environment of like Switzerland and I guess Europe in general when Imagine You Know was, just an idea or was coming into your mind?
I think Europe as a whole is like 10 years behind the US when it comes to the whole venture-enabled startup scene or the investor scene that are backing startups. And this shows we have a strong first wave of investors. Usually they are generalists, so they invest into a lot of things and cannot be experts in one specific thing. And then if you look at what's happening in the US, you have two big waves. You have a lot of founder or operator-led VCs. And this is a big asset because they speak the same language as the founders. And the second thing you have is you have a lot of funds that are very specific to one industry or one specific part that they are supporting. And this also is super interesting for founders because you can actually, bring your expertise, you can bring your network, you can bring everything you know about this industry to the table. I see this is changing. Also in Europe, I see more and more funds coming, but still way too little. And when we started, there was almost none that could do both.
Oh, interesting. So for you, it was important to have both the experience of a founder and like a sector-specific experience. Tell me a little bit more about that. Why a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking investment is just the money. But in the way you're coming at this is that, no, it's, yes, money is foundational, but you need something else as well.
Because I believe what helps you most if you're on the other side of the table, so you're a founder or you have your own startup, is like, I mean, if you're good, you anyway get the money.
Yeah.
So usually you can select. So you should think of what else does add value besides the money. And this is also where our name comes from, because when you're in the founder journey, you have so many things you tackle the first time every day. And you have no clue how to tackle them, and that's totally okay. But we felt like Imagine You Know knew some of the paths you could take or some of the solutions that are there. And this is actually exactly what you're bringing to the table. And this helps founders scale faster and better and be more successful in their path and journey.
Tell me about your team. So you come from like a fintech background, so you obviously have a lot of knowledge in that sphere. What about the others? What do they bring to the table, to the fund?
So we are a team of two. It's Claudio and me. And Claudio is very technical. He's a well-known researcher in cybersecurity. He also built and scaled his own company. And this makes us very complementary because I can challenge more on the go-to-market side and support there. And he's very strong in product vision. He sees things that are so far away and the potential of technologies that is really like unique, I would say. And then we are in 2026, so we have a lot of agents, AI agents that are supporting our processes.
What has been like the strengths of having, both a male and female team leading the funding rounds?
I would say it's always a strength to be diverse, to have different strengths, no matter if it's gender or if it's backgrounds or if it's the way of thinking. So more diversity is, the stronger you are in doing it. There is nowadays also a lot of investors that focus on female-led funds or diverse teams. So this definitely also opens some additional doors, as well as there is a lot of funds that support deep tech, etc.
I mean, you are coming at this as, both like, you're a founding partner, but you have that experience as as a founder, somebody who's also kind of on their own entrepreneurial journey, but also kind of investing in others. Have you felt like challenges in that journey, and how have you kind of overcome them?
Challenges in which sense? Or
In whatever, both, within like growing the fund, growing the organization, but also in, getting the word out and, in the investment side of it.
So it was definitely also a big change to move from being an operator to an investor, because and I think this is not one of my strengths. You need to be patient. So usually when I see something not working, as a founder or operator, you jump on it and you tackle it, and you have your team for sure that supports it. But in the end, it's your responsibility. And as an investor, you can spark ideas, you can give hints or feedback, but in the end, it's not your journey. You're just there to support. You're the partner in crime. And this is definitely a huge shift that I had to go through.
Some of the startups that you are investing in, is there a specific character, personality of them, or are you looking at a more open startup collective?
So on a skill level, what's very important is that there is very deep technical expertise in the team, and usually what we're looking for, if they have some edge, if they see something or have noticed something that is not obvious to the wider audience or to the world. So they're seeing something that others have not yet noticed, or have a way of solving it that others have not thought about. And the second part, which is very important, is if they have this scaling or executor mode. So also thinking of customers, of the market, of what matters to them, and not only about their product. And then when it comes to soft skills, what I care most about is, what is their ambition? How hungry are they? Because there is a lot of great founders, and they will be for sure successful, but they might not be a fit for the VC game, because if you have VC investors on your cap table, it means you have the ambition to become the biggest or the most successful company in your category in the world. And this is not always the case.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a controversial question. Should founders then, and I guess this is coming from your like ambition kind of lens, should founders have jobs behind them? Do you see that as a negative, as evidence of less ambition or less passion in their startup?
I would not invest into founders that have jobs besides their venture or their startup, because if you choose to get money externally, it means like you need the money now. Otherwise, you lose the momentum, or the opportunity is less there in 2-3 years than it is now. So it's all about timing and time, and you want people that are putting 200%, 300% into their project and run and walk through walls and don't give up. And this is all they're thinking about.
All right. So let's talk about that first meeting that you have. How do you detect all these elements that you are looking for? Ambition, and whether they're very aware of their own technical skills, the market, scalability. How do you pick those out?
So usually I like to have open conversations instead of like just them pitching, because this usually it feels much more natural. They share it in their own words and not just like a script they've learned. And one of my first questions is also always like, what is your ambition? What do you want to achieve? Why are you doing this? And this already answers a lot. And if it's not a fit, I also tell them, hey, great product, but maybe think of business angels that could support, or a few corporates, but don't go this path. And then I also observe how they describe their product, the problem that they're solving, also their team. And this gives a lot of indications, this gut feeling that you have of how they present what they're doing.
I want to go back to that comment you made. How do you know when I guess maybe even from the founder's side, how do you know when you should be going to a venture fund or business angels? What would you what would your suggestions be?
You can always have business angels as first investors when you do a pre-seed. So when nothing is proven, you don't have customers yet. So there it's still very open. And then you need to think very honestly with yourself, like, what do you want to build? Do you want to have a company, maybe a local hero that has a strong customer base? You stay in Cyprus or you stay in Berlin and you're happy with it? Or do you really want to conquer the world and shape the whole industry that you're in? And this is the question you need to have. And that it means that, you might be traveling a lot. You need to make a lot of sacrifices. You will not be the major shareholder of your company anymore. At some point, after a few funding rounds, others will be able to make decisions or have the majority. And this is sometimes painful, and you need to decide which path is the right one for you.
Do you like to see founders investing their own money in their own companies, or is that not a factor for you?
It's not a factor, because they invest their whole life, or at least during the span they're doing this startup, into this startup or into their idea. And it really depends. I mean, we have invested into founders fresh off university, and there's naturally not much money there. What would be more of a red flag is if they want to use the money to give themselves very nice salaries.
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, that is always the biggest red. Yeah, definitely. And I guess coming back to that comment you made about, you've invested in people who, fresh from university, they're very much, I guess, academically educated. They are very much research focused. Those who have, and they don't maybe have experience with, like, the commercial side of the business, how much weight do you put into, their expertise in the product itself versus maybe their business knowledge? Are you still open to investing in people who have, knowledge, but may need more of hand-holding through their journey?
I think I always put founders into two buckets. There is the experienced one that have worked in the industry, that have felt the pain themselves, that they're now trying to solve. And there is the very young ones that we are talking now about. And I believe, I'm in my 30s now, and, the world as a 20-year-old looks completely different, and they see things very differently, and this can be extremely innovative. And just because things have been done in a certain way doesn't mean they need to always be done in this way going forward. What is very important is, the mindset they have and the curiosity and how they approach the challenges that they're having, because in the stage we're investing, they have not anyway mastered the go-to market and how to convince customers. It's a testing ground, and it's more important on how they approach this phase instead of, how experienced they are in it.
Let's talk a little bit about the market itself. So you're very interested in like cybersecurity. How easy is it, or how difficult is it to break into currently?
As a startup,
Yeah.
I think in Europe or overall, it has never been easier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the world has changed a lot. I would say 5 years ago, when enterprises were buying cybersecurity solutions or also other deep tech digital infrastructure solutions, they mainly cared about getting the market leader or the big US vendor. And with geopolitics, sovereignty, and all these topics, a diversified tech stack has become key. And this means that they are actively looking for European solutions. This is one thing.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that AI is changing cybersecurity fundamentally. You cannot build on the paradigms anymore that we had up until now.
That's true.
Because you cannot make it 100% safe. What you try to do is making it as hard and as expensive to break into your systems as possible. And now with AI, suddenly attacks become often crazy cheap. Or you don't need to only think of humans anymore, but also like how do AI agents and all of these collaborate and work together, and what kind of risks do you have? And this completely new way of thinking that is needed in cyber opens all the doors for innovative companies.
I guess then my next question coming from that is, you have a market that is growing, very exciting. And then you have maybe a team that is building a product that is exciting, but the market may not be ready for it, or it may not be the right market, the right timing for it right then. What has more weight in that scenario? The market, trying to hit the market with, maybe another team that has a product that is ready to go, or the team that you've seen that they're amazing, but the product may not be just there, or the one that you are ready for.
I think timing is above everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see products that are a few years too late, or sometimes even months, and sometimes we see products that are too early, or that then don't work for the venture world. But if I really believe into the team, what I like to do is staying very close to them and see how they're developing, because people is part of the game, and what they start with might not be what they end up with. So I'm very curious to follow their journey, and potentially, when they hit the right product, or how to use this technology to solve something else, then it becomes very interesting.
Hype now around AI. But then there's also a lot of conversation that a lot of products that are being developed just feel like they're just sticking AI in the name for the sake of it, because they think that is what is going to get them the funding. How aware are you of this? And do you have guardrails that you've built to kind of maybe divide the product that is kind of a more mature tech buildup, or versus those who just have it for the brand name?
For me, AI is becoming like a tool, an enabler. You can use it, but it should not be your selling point.
Yeah.
Being fully transparent. And I'm mainly interested on this side into the quality of the tech stack, or because if your solution can be copied within a few weeks because it's so generic, or so simple in a way that you use Claude, and then everyone could do it, then it's not worth investing into them. we have also invested into companies that don't have anything to do with AI in this world, and this is also super interesting for me. Nevertheless, AI is changing the world, and for us, it's more like a new threat landscape. And for on the developer side, for startups to have more speed, to use it as a tool to deliver more and faster.
So you invest in cybersecurity and digital infrastructure. What do you think founders in these spaces most need investors to understand better? And from the other side, what do the founders need to understand from those investing in them?
On the first question, I think the most misunderstood thing is that the hockey stick that everyone is looking for with startup, the growth, works differently in cybersecurity or digital infrastructure compared to other industries. It's slower. It takes longer to win over customers because it's all about trust. So you need to think of longer sales cycles, more due diligence, more procurement. But once you have the customer, it's very sticky. So most security products have very little or no churn. And you can expand much easier because customers don't want to rip off security products all the time. It's a huge risk for them to do that. And this makes it slower in the beginning, but then much steeper when it comes to growth or much more efficient. And I see it often with investors that they get impatient because they don't know. They compare it with other software products, and this creates a lot of friction.
You mentioned the word trust. How should founders build the trust with their customer? What have you seen from your experience?
I think you need to be precise with everything you do. Everything you do, your website, how you communicate, represents your product. So you cannot ship something that is halfway working or that has mistakes in it. So you need to be extremely precise. You should also not oversell. You should be very open about what your product can do and not do. And you should not make it about yourself. But I think this is in every product. Make it about the customer, what they care about, what's top of mind for them, and how you can help them achieve their goals.
So Europe produces a lot of deep technical talent, but fewer global category leaders. Where do you think founders most often fall short or fail when trying to make that transition?
So, as you also said, the tech that we are getting out of Europe is excellent. Historically, there was way too little capital in these industries. This we are changing now. And then we also need to acknowledge that Europe is very fragmented. So growing, in the market is much harder than if you have a 300 million home market to do so. And what I also often see, which is quite sad, is that European founders think much smaller. They're happier with less. And they try to only enter one or two countries. And sure, you should not enter all countries at the same time. But, you need to think of how you can conquer the world and where the smart markets are to capture.
Do you think that is a problem of the culture of just European, I guess, entrepreneurial spirit? Because when you compare it to maybe the US culture, where it's a lot of go, 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 we build, 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 we'll fix it later. Whereas Europe is like slowly, carefully, hold my hand, do it slowly. Is more, I guess, more of a tortoise and hare kind of scenario, isn't it? Do you think it's the culture maybe is more at fault, or is there something else that plays a role?
Yeah, I think it's the culture, and for me, the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle. Because also, if you would do the US way and, promise a lot, many things are still on slides and not yet built, you would not be successful in Europe. This doesn't work like that. So no matter if it's investors or if it's customers, they want to have much more proof, more trust before they, choose your product or your startup to work with. And in the US, it's much more like, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
The curiosity.
The curiosity. I want to also kind of ask you about Europe as when it comes to like regulation and compliance. How difficult is it in comparison to building something in the US when it comes to cybersecurity and and having to adhere to like protecting data and etc.? Is it something that is of hindering the growth of maybe cybersecurity companies because they have to take into consideration even stricter regulations? Or is it actually a point of growth for them because there is so much confusion for other companies that they find it so much easier to revert to external assistance?
I think the advantage for many cybersecurity startups is that data protection, etc., is part of their DNA. So it's part of their product, and this is not a major difference if customers are asking for it or not, because it's anyway there. When it comes to procurement processes, for sure, it's a big hassle, and how much you need to deliver and provide. I also remember I had to do everything from anti-slavery policies to CO2 emission as a software startup. And this can be very overwhelming for startups to adhere to all of that. On the other hand side, I think it's becoming more and more of a competitive advantage. Europe is taking a very different stance on AI regulation, etc. And how you position yourself can be actually a competitive advantage to win in industries like cybersecurity, because you're doing it in a much more structured way, and these solutions will then also work globally, contrary to if you just innovate without having all these regulations in mind, you struggle to then enter these more regulated markets.
This open and honest, I think having these open and honest conversations, I think it's just a very recent development, because there was that stereotype before of investors are these scary people. You cannot share your problems with them because they're gonna pull back. As a founder, I have to portray this picture that everything's perfect, everything's going great until I provide you my report. But until then, everything is perfect. Everything is, it's bright sun, blue skies. Why have you chosen to have a more communal approach and more of an open, honest, show me the real picture approach when it comes to your relationship with your founders?
Because this is when you can help best and when you can give insights. And usually these are the painful ones or the painful problems that you don't really know how to tackle. And sure, the investor reports are usually shiny. Also, I get shiny reports. And I would not ask the hardest questions or challenge this in front of a wider audience. But it's important that I have an open line with all of them and that I hear the honest struggles, and then we tackle them together.
My last question to you is, what is the future you are building towards, whether that is in cybersecurity or just even on the wider side through the work that you are doing?
Shaping how things are done, how collaboration works, or how investments happen, how companies choose products. So I want to really help opening doors and change how the industry works, make it more open and shape that Europe, because this is our focus, Europe can be leader in cyber. And I deeply believe that.
And it's funny because there is that idea that cybersecurity, closes doors, makes things a little bit more secretive. But I guess I can see it from your perspective, where it's actually just making it everything more transparent, and like the stricter rules do not mean that things have to be rigid. It's actually, it gives you a little bit more freedom, because not in a way, where the walls are, so then you know where to go forward.
I know cybersecurity is one of the most unsexy topics if you just hear it. But if you think of what's driving humanity, it's always two things. It's magic and it's secrecy. And magic has been solved. We have AI. But what about the secrecy? And this is for me cyber. So if you dive deep into it, it's probably the most exciting topic you can dive into.
And we take it back to the times of all the witch trials. Oh gosh, that is a beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much for joining me. I feel like I really need to go and dive deeper into magic and secrecy now. But yeah, thank you so much. It's brilliant. It's just been a lovely, lovely conversation. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge today.